it's me, Ingrid P, and this is going to be my 3-month video post-autism diagnosis. Like a little bit like where I'm at, what's going on. I haven't written any notes for this, so I'm kind of just going into this blind. But let's just say that not much has happened in my life concerning like changes that have been affected by my autism diagnosis. It's more like the mindset and all that has been a real, it's been tough. I don't really know what is going on in my mind. So that's why I still have some panettone left from Christmas. So I'm going to be eating some of that. Just to get my mind going a little bit. Because if I think about this too much, I get sad. It's just, let's just say I haven't gone to the neuro rehab yet because I haven't been able to get time off from work. I have, vacation days, but it's really hard getting a time at the neuro rehab. And so I was supposed to go on the 16th, but it's like I don't want my workplace to know about my diagnosis because I'm only there a short amount of time. My boss knows, and he had a terrible reaction, let's just say. Well, it was an okay reaction, but I wished for something better. I don't know why I had such high expectations, considering, how autistic people are treated in society. But yeah, so I came out to my boss, I came out to certain of my colleagues, not most of them. I came out to the nursing assistant's boss, the nurse's boss, the secretary's boss, my boss, because I felt like the bosses needed to know, because they're the ones who kind of steer the stuff. I came out to my old supervisor, my new supervisor, but my new supervisor actually doesn't know that I recently got diagnosed. I just told him that I was autistic, but he doesn't know that this is a very new thing for me. He thinks that this is something that I knew when I started my job, which really isn't the case. He's also a late diagnosed autistic person, but I think that he got diagnosed maybe a few years ago, so like he's more okay with his own life, he's managed to find ways to get used to this somehow. But I'm really at the beginning, and it was easy for me to say that like, oh, I'm totally fine with this, when really I wasn't. I was doing really well, it feels like, compared to how it could have been. I could have been like a total mess after my autism diagnosis. But it's just that nobody sees the fight that is going on inside. And, well, except for you guys, of course. But nobody really sees that fight. Even my best friend doesn't really see, but he has seen that he did say that I could have been much worse. He thought that I was going to crash totally, which I didn't. But I wasn't doing well. And he's supporting me the best way he can, and I'm happy about that. I came out to my nursing assistant colleagues, and they were very supportive. However, they don't really work in very close collaboration with me. But sometimes it's nice to have somebody to like complain about the boss together, And the nursing assistants have children who have autism or ADHD. So they kind of understand the whole, that they can't, like, that I need different things than a regular adult. So I think that, yeah, that's a good compromise. I haven't come out to, like, my my resident colleagues, because I think that I don't want them to see me as incapable or something like that. However, it is difficult when you're not telling somebody about such a big thing that's going on. They do know that I have trouble with my mental health, so they think that it's just a continuation of that. But sometimes it's like, I had to tell my ESFP colleague, who I haven't told yet, that, why I'm going home early, from a party. And it's like, she still doesn't really get it, and she tries hard to keep me there, which I don't know what she's trying to get from that. If she thinks that she's going to, like, force me to be happy to stay, and she kind of low-key bullies me into staying. I don't know if telling her about an autism diagnosis would change her way of being. It's just, it would be the same. I don't know if she would actually even really believe that I had an autism diagnosis, and so it's kind of like that for my other colleagues. And so they know already that I have difficulties. Now, what kind of difficulties is difficult? Like, they don't really know. It's okay, they don't need to know. But yeah, so my parents don't know about this yet. And I've spent Christmas away from them. Partly because I was scared of having to tell them, I guess. I think that was probably a reason why I felt like I couldn't go there. It's too much that I'm hiding from them, and so it's better to just not be there. I'm glad I didn't go there, because it was a lot of chaos, apparently. And when I explain this to people are like, oh, but everybody's family is chaotic. Everybody's, and it's not like I had an abusive family or that kind of thing, but my family isn't like 100% wholesome. I don't think that there is an 100% wholesome family, but I don't think that my family, being with my family at the moment, isn't conducive to healing that I need. And that sounds kind of like a cliche thing, like something that I picked up from a self-care, like self-help book or something, but it's true that, like, I don't know if my brain is capable of taking in extra stuff. Like, okay, so now I went to 2 different families. Like, I did more socializing than I usually would at Christmas, because I was socializing with people who weren't my family. People I didn't know as well as my family. I would rather do that than to socialize with my family. So something is wrong there, Like, I'd rather celebrate Christmas with my best friend's family and with my colleague's family, rather than celebrating Christmas at my own family. I don't know why that is. I mean, sure, there's the whole plane situation. I have to take an airplane to France, which, would take a lot of energy out of me. but it's also like what I would do there. And so, yeah. And also the fact that I wouldn't be seeing my friends really if I went down there, because I'm kind of stuck without a license in the car. And so I was doing much better, like being treated like a guest by my friends and my colleagues' families. Yeah, so I've gone through all the stages of grief, you know, like I've been angry at the world, at myself, at the assessor, at my boss, at my family. I've been sad. I've been having imposter syndrome. You know, like thinking like, oh, I can't possibly be autistic. Why am I going around like this? I've yeah, basically I've been doing a lot of thinking about the past, thinking about the future, thinking about how am I going to change my current situation. I've been worried about the future quite a lot, and also dredging up quite a few like embarrassing memories from my past. So I've been sleeping not great. I've also been, you know, I'm trying to see like if I'm going to get back to a nostalgic kind of period where I look at old things, or it doesn't seem like I have gotten into that. I think I kind of sunk into a winter depression as well. And so there's also this thing where it's like, I don't want to be defined by my diagnosis or whatever. Like, I don't want it to hinder me from doing things. But at the same time, I don't want... There are certain things I have to accept that I won't be doing in my life, you know? And it's difficult to explain because everybody's like, yeah, you can keep on growing all throughout your life, you know? And you just need, you know, motivation and discipline and such. It's like, sure, but if autism affects the way you have motivation and stuff, because it is monotropic in nature, you know, like, then it's, you know, a lot of people are like, they think that their own way of living is the only way that you can live a good life. Mostly I'm talking about people who, you know, are like, leave their job and start their own business. Nothing against these people, I'm just saying that some people are like, look down on people who stay at a 9-to-5 job. Or they look down on people who stay home rather than travel around the world. And it's like, yeah, so I'm a boring person. And I can make things slightly interesting for myself. But I think that I'm going to remain quite a boring person. Like, I don't think that in my life that I'll ever go travel around the world. And maybe I thought that that would be a possibility for me. And sure, everything is possible, but like, I realized that I would greatly dislike a lot of things about that, you know? I don't really do well traveling. Like, my digestive system is not good when I go travel. I'm used to my certain foods, and I know that even just traveling from Sweden to France, sorts of things that I eat when I'm in France, even when it's not Christmas, when I go to France like during the summer, I realize that because I'm eating more white bread, like my stomach does something, I don't know. And like my sleep schedule gets all messed up, and then I'm just a mess, you know? It's like I'm having fun, but I am also messing up everything that makes my life sort of balanced. I'm not saying that my life is balanced, but yeah, so I don't know how much traveling I'm willing to do. And I don't want to like lock myself into something, but I kind of, you know, there's this sort of thing that's like, well, what does this diagnosis mean for my life? And people are like, oh, well, if you get the accommodations, then your life will be great. It's like, well, first of all, I won't be getting all these accommodations that apparently exist. You know, I'm going to be going to a neuro rehab meeting in the middle of January, and they'll be asking me like what I need, and I don't know what I need. You know, it's like, it's a whole different way of thinking about yourself. Like, I'm going to be, you know, like when you've gone through life never asking for any help, or like asking for help that wasn't really for you, then you're like, you know, what is allowed, what is possible, what is good, I don't know. Like, am I allowed to just live a quiet life, you know, and not aspire to 10,000 things? Am I allowed to live a life, you know, that sounds boring to most people? Should I strive for another kind of life? It's like, well, I'll never get those answers, but like, I have more of those questions than the average person right now, and more of those questions than I had before my diagnosis. Because I'm like, what is this diagnosis going to help me with, you know? It doesn't help me in any way. I'm like confused. And I've noticed that I've gotten worse, you know. Once I got my diagnosis, I realized all the things that I've been doing wrong, I guess. Like, I realized how much more I'm forcing myself to make eye contact, to smile, to seem nice, you know, like I'm masking more than I did before the diagnosis. Because I guess I didn't realize how much I was masking, or I didn't realize how much I was not masking. And the point of the diagnosis is rather to unmask rather than mask more, but it feels like that's what I'm doing. Or at least I'm doing it more consciously. And I hate that, you know? I hate that I go to my colleague's Christmas party and I put on my happy face, you know? I go to my best friend's party and people ask me questions and I have to find it, like, decide on some very bland, non-committal answer in order to make people happy, you know? People are asking, you know, his grandmother asked me why I wasn't with my family or why I moved to Sweden, and I was like, oh, I'm happier here, you know, or like, oh, you know, there wasn't the time, or like I would have to invent a certain platitude on the spot, which really stressed me out. And rather than, I don't know what an unmasked version of myself would say, but maybe it would say it's none of your business, you know? But I can't do that in front of my friend's grandmother, you know? And so, yeah, I don't know, it just makes me more frustrated rather than less. And I'm not regretting getting an autism diagnosis, but I can see why I resisted getting one in the first place. You know, at first I was like, no, I do not have autism. It's because I never got the help for my burnouts that I was supposed to get. Because people were just like so focused on the autism bit, on the assessment, when really I never got help for the burnout. Like I got help with accommodations from my job, but I never got help in therapy of how to deal with my burnout. I got CBT for social anxiety, which was a help kind of, and you know, I have a therapist I can vent to, but I don't I don't have like somebody who structured guides me through something, or like helps me understand the stuff that I don't understand. And I don't know where to find that. The problem is in my region is that they separate ADHD from autism like very much. And I didn't get an ADHD diagnosis, but sometimes I feel like that is more the problem. And if I got, it doesn't mean, like, I don't have ADHD, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't be helped by the stuff that ADHD people get as help. I've read books for people with ADHD, and I've really related and felt like I got help from those books. So why is the treatment or the, you know, healthcare plans for these two diagnoses so different? Because in my region, it's really stupid. I wish I would have lived in Stockholm where everything was more integrated. In my region, you've got neuro rehab, which takes care of autism because it's not considered something that psychiatrists take care of. So there's no psychiatrist, there's no doctor at neuro rehab. There is another I call it neuro rehab because I don't really know what to call it in English. There is another kind of neuro rehab which deals with like dementia and you know, Parkinson's and that kind of thing, and stroke. But I'm talking about the habilitating, which is like habilitation place, which takes care of people with disabilities. Like if they need a new wheelchair, they talk to the neuro rehab place or that kind of thing. And so autism is included in that umbrella. But there's no doctor there. And there is no therapist. There are therapists, but there's no therapy done there. They have like group workshops, I guess. But it's very seldom, and also it's not at the neuro rehab that's in my town. So I would have to go like very far away to go to one of those classes. Anyway, there is very little resources for an autistic person in my town. And however, if I had ADHD, I would be getting access to a psychiatrist and possibly to medication. And at the psychiatry, they have psychologists that can have a program with you. So it's not like I'm jealous of the people with ADHD, but I wish that there was the same kind of structured system for autistic people as for ADHD people. So here I am, I'm just like, okay, so now I'm finally going to meet the neuro rehab 3 months after my diagnosis, and I don't know what kind of help they can give me. And they're just going to, yeah, I don't know. We're just going to talk. Maybe I'll get to meet an occupational therapist. Maybe, you know. And then my psychologist that's at the regular healthcare just is really not moving things along. I don't know how to tell him that this isn't working, but I decided that I was going to wait until I did this neuro rehab meeting so that I can like understand maybe there's some routes to take with therapy. But yeah, I'm just confused, as you know, because also they want you to have goals and such, and it's like it's hard for me to make goals when everything is such a blur. Everything just feels like a blur, and yeah, it's not going too well. So anyway, I don't know if I'm going to tell my parents about the autism at some point, because I think that it's a big part of why I don't have my driver's license, and I think that they are starting to wonder, like, why do I still not have a driving license, even though it's gone like 10 years I've tried. You know, I think that the only problem is that if I say certain things, it will be like kind of insulting them. And I don't want to say that they did a bad job at parenting. And also I don't want to, you know, because my diagnosis might shed some light on them and their possible diagnoses. And so their response might be just like, oh, but that's normal, you know? Your dad does exactly the same, you know? And it's like, that's the point, you know? These things are hereditary. They are genetic. And I don't know if my parents will ever be ready for that, you know? And, you know, I don't want also to affect my brother, because my brother probably has something as well. And it's like, I want him to figure things out on his own. I don't want him to suffer like I did. I don't know, he seems to be getting by a little bit easier in life because, I don't know, he's a boy. So things aren't expected of him as much as they are of me, as like the oldest daughter kind of thing. So like maybe he has the same difficulties as me, I don't know, but he's managing things from what I can see. But I don't want to like stir his life up now when he is in the midst of everything. Maybe that's wrong of me. Maybe he should be getting a diagnosis now. But it's going to be hard if my parents are like going to be resisting it, which is kind of what I feel is going to happen. Maybe it will make it even harder for my brother to get that diagnosis if I tell my parents about it, because then they'll be like dismissive at the mere mention of autism and ADHD. Yeah, I don't really know how to deal with that situation. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I should just tell them, you know. But it isn't a simple thing. And also, yeah, my whole mind is quite a muddle. And maybe it has helped me in certain ways, you know, with like allowing myself to stim when I'm indoors. But it's also made me realize how restless I am when I am outdoors. Like I'm at a meeting or I have to sit down and then I'm like, just like my knee is bouncing, you know? And I'm like, oh, wait, no, you know, not now. And I don't know if I realized I had this restlessness inside me, this need to stim until my diagnosis. So that is quite a good thing that I know now, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying when it comes like at the wrong moment. So I know that. I also have the weighted blanket, which helps me sleep. I've been less tough on myself when it comes to cooking food and such. Like, it's okay if I just pick and choose different foods, as long as like I get my vitamins and such. It's okay. It's okay if I'm like weird about food, as long as, you know, I get the nutrients that I need. It doesn't matter if it's like not a warm cooked meal. Like, I can just eat some cherry tomatoes together with some cucumber and an avocado, and like that's a meal, you know. It's fine. So I'm nicer to myself about that. I'm also nicer to myself when it comes to like, you know, okay, so I need a nap. Let's take a nap, you know. So maybe I should have come a little bit further on in my autism journey, but I'm a little bit more neutral. Like, I'm not thinking about autism 24/7 anymore. So that is, I think, a good development, because it was like my brain was just filled with some static noise. Like, back when I was doing my diagnosis, getting my diagnosis, it was like there all the time, and like there was no space for other stuff. So now I'm more neutral about it. I don't need to think about it as much, you know, but it does come up at least once a day, you know, where I'm thinking about the autism diagnosis, but it's not like it's always there taking up my energy from other things, you know, so I'm glad about that. Yeah. And yes, I do get the imposter syndrome sometimes. I still watch all of the autism videos. It seems like there's been a slowdown in the amount of videos that are being made about autism. I think that's because Christmas and all that, but maybe it will start up again in January. I realize, you know, there's some autism content creators that I really relate to, some of them less, and I don't need to relate to every single point in order to be valid as an autistic person, you know, because that's a problem that I've had. And, you know, I might seem like I have a very mild autism, but I do have problems, you know. And it's a journey. It's a lot. I think I'll be a little bit further on in my journey once I've been to neuro rehab and all that in January. So maybe at the 4-month period, I'll have figured out a lot more things. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Take care of yourselves. It's not easy out there, especially when you just got an autism diagnosis. It does do a number on you, I guess. It put my mind completely bonkers. I'm like, everything is just a mess right now. But I think it was worth it. I don't regret it, but it's not leading to much progress. I think that you need to have a period where it's just a muddle before it gets more organized, I guess. So that's it. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.